Yeah, we're doing Uranus today. So we're starting with the 3 outer planets. And so each planet has its own dimension or layer of consciousness that's affected or interacts with each other planet. So we're really, it's like salad dressing, but all shook up, and we're slowing it down, and we're letting each of the oils and the vinegars, and you can see the different layers. But they're just slices of behavior in a person's chart. They just happen between dimensions of consciousness. So if there's not an aspect, it doesn't mean there's no connection between the 2 planets. If there's no aspect, if there's a difficult aspect, if it's an easy aspect, supposedly easy aspect, there's 360 degrees of it. There's always aspects. So there's always a relationship between any 2 planets. It's just a matter of when it's harmonious and a little bit lazy or smoothly there, or if when it's stressful and it's noticeably having a distinct effect. Now, so as an astrologer, we see it as a distinct effect. When you're living with it, you just have a sense of anxiety that it's normal to you and you don't know why it's not fitting in with others. So Uranus is the planet of excitement, sudden change, considered to be revolution or innovation. So it's given the point of new discoveries, new ways of thinking, going out of the box, going beyond the structure of things. So thinking outside of the box is always a Uranus, Neptune, Pluto factor. It's outside of the box of Saturn. But Saturn is your main defenses. It's your main discipline, your ego, your destruction. Well, the sun's the ego, but Saturn's the structure that the defenses of that ego that allow it to crystallize so that it's not devastated by everything that happens. So really, as I said before, the planet in the sign, the planet in the house, it's the way you make best use of that planet and make it a healing energy. And even if you're doing that the best it possibly could be, it's still going to have an effect on the other planets. You can have 2 planets in aspect, and you're supposed to make each planet and each sign as best as it can, each planet, each house as best as it can. And if you're making both planets as best as it can, you're still going to have the stress as best as it can be. It's still going to be there. So it's not really relevant to just somebody, oh, you got this aspect, that's really messed up your life. There's so much going on in life. These are nerves. These other planets are nervous. Well, Uranus especially is a nervous factor coming in. You can't see the other planets. There's no way they could be noble planets. The planets that are noble, that are exalted, that are dignified or detriment, these are the 5 planets that you can see, the sun, moon, and the 5 planets that you can see. So this is the first one outside of that range. It is a cycle of 84 years. We experience it basically, any aspect that we experience from Uranus. Well, even in timings and across a lifetime, we get every aspect's unique. We never had it before. But when we're looking at our charts, what we start with is a basic sense that we start with. So I think you have to consider Uranus as an unstabilizing influence, a nervous anxiety thing. It's a catalyst that's trying to disrupt or change things. Well, if you're trying to change things that are comfortable or good for you, it's going to cause some stress. You're going to have 2 voices, one saying, this is good, the other saying, oh, why change it? Or I have to change it. Like, it's kind of like electricity. You can see all it does, but it can't, you don't know exactly what it is. Sorry, I'm just finishing a cookie. I got caught in an unexpected activity. Okay, so in your chart, you look for excitement where you're in. Uranus excitement is going to threaten Saturn defenses in any case. It's always that tendency to do something different, something a little better than the conservative, boring, established. So there's a high point to Uranus of doing that innovative, exceptional, unconventional thing. But when it's in an aspect in your chart, it's a factor that's it's in a certain basic pattern to you. So as Uranus hits each planet, the inner planets don't really affect Uranus. You might be able to see them if you're not taking care of them properly. If you're taking, it may help you to be able to be more exciting. But usually Uranus destabilizes and it makes it nervous, it makes it anxious, it makes it worrisome. Uranus causes this high-strung nervousness or sense that things are going to change, nothing's stable. So if you have this sense of nervousness, it's hard to relax. So it depends which planet it hits, how this nervousness comes in. So if you're looking at a chart, if you're trying to make, if you're going to the house where the sign in the house where Uranus is, you're trying to express that attitude individually and trying to be really innovative in that house, it doesn't help to try and slow it down or make it more conservative. The other planet on the other side, however, can be really disrupted by worrying about instability or by feeling that things are changing or nothing's stable. Because if nothing's stable, why bother? I guess it's just an anxiety element, a factor. Just not everything's so secure. Yeah, so this relationship to innovativeness, to holding on to what's conservative as Saturn, to holding on to breaking away from what's conservative and trying to be a little different, or otherwise you could feel different. You may not want to feel different. You know, Uranus can make you feel really different, and you may not want to be. And everybody's encouraging you to be different, just like them, or be different, or whatever, and it's going against your instincts. If you have these outer planets, everyone has Uranus in the same sign for 7 years. Everyone has Neptune in the same sign for way more, for 15 or more years, depending where it's. Same with Pluto. These are long planet. These are things that are generational factors. So a whole generation picks them up. A whole generation has a sense of what's exciting. In fact, if you were to look at fashion, you'd see every 7 years there needs to be a radical change. So Uranus has just gone into Taurus. Now, there can be a distinct change of fashion from when Uranus was in Aries. It's going to make, it's not going to be just traditional beauty. It's going to be something unconventional of it. Whereas when it was in Aries, it was Mars ruled. It was affecting Mars. It was doing different things, or being the rebel, or whatever. When it goes into Gemini, it'd be sitting around thoughts and thinking. So there's in the world, there's a whole, every 7 years, there's this change of style, and people are born with that. And this is exciting, or that's not. You know, so fashion, music, different factors all are affect this way of trying to affect the change or be in touch with the change. When you're looking at a personal chart, the way, if Uranus is causing a stressful aspect, there's going to be a nervous element to it. There's going to be a destabilizing element to it, or an unstable, destabilizing anxiety, a nervous element to it, a tendency to have things break away or change, whether you want them or not. So that destabilization can prevent strong expression. It can weaken or prevent a strong expression of the inner planets. Okay, so if we take this excitement Uranus, this revolution, this change, so many people say, oh, I want to be revolutionary, I want to be different, I want to make exciting, I'm living so exciting, this is me. that's fine, they can do it. But when they're 5 years later or 20 years later, they did their exciting thing, and it may be less stable. Like you work for yourself, you're not going to have a pension. Like there's a normal side of things to it. But when you're trying to see this behavioral pattern in a person, and what do you do with it? What if Uranus is hitting something? It's not normally your strong. It weakens it from being your strong suit. So if you have an afflicted Venus, it's going to be difficult to make Venus the strongest thing in your life, the most important thing in life. You might accentuate Mars more and try to be more active than more receptive. So all the other planets have this kind of effect in a different way, but they cause concerns over perhaps impractical things. And but who wants to be practical? Who wants to be conservative? Who wants to just do what their parents did? It just changes. So people will live on Uranus, but you can, when you see someone that are older, you see how it works. You see, oh, that wasn't their strong suit. They played off that, and because they didn't get that, they traded off and worked on some other planet of their chart more. And some people may have no stressful aspects from Uranus. Some people might have only one. Some people may have 3 or 4 or 5 difficult aspects to Uranus. Well, it's going to increase this nervousness or anxiety in a person's life. And it wouldn't be, that's just normal for them. But they would start to notice it when they start going to school or start interacting with other people, because they're not as stable as other people. They're going to sense it. They're not going to necessarily take the risks of other people. So when Uranus is conjunct or square or opposed the moon, this means when you're born, your mom was in shock, unstable. Things happened fast. It was quickly. Even the conjunction would not be considered necessarily a positive aspect, easy aspect. It's still creating unstable situations. Your mom could have been alone, or she could have had the baby by herself, or something could have split up, or they could have been moving, or something was unstable when you were being born. So you came into an unstable family. So this means you're born and you're looking for nourishment from your mom, and your mom's trying to be more independent, more free, or she's anxious and worried about how to deal with this or how to deal with that, and you're not going to get the extra affection. Like with Jupiter to the moon, you might get extra affection. It might be too much to a fault. With Uranus, it's destabilizing. It means the link to the mom is not stable. It means the link to staying in one place, to having a home, to feeling secure in one place. You might have this and feel so insecure that you got to have a home. You got to have a home, and you overcompensate, and you get the home, and you're worrying about having it, and it isn't always in your best interest. So sometimes the anxiety is, I don't fit in anywhere. I don't live here. And usually people with this type of aspect, they have to break away from home before they find themselves. But many people will fight it. They'll say, that's too crazy. I'm insecure. I don't have a home. I got to be home. They try to be more with mom, and mom can't necessarily hold it all together. And they go up and they say, well, I can't get on my own. I can't go. They can be nervous because they get afraid or too insecure to try and be on their own, which sets up another anxiety level with mom. My kid's going to stay here forever. I'm never going to get free of this. So some with this, you'd expect they'd be restless, quick or anxious in their feelings, sort of worried or hyper. They would be unconventional or restless in their eating habits. This could mean that the spur of the moment determines what you're doing, and you may not impose a regular eating style. So with the moon, it can be so many different habits, so many different memories, but there's instability to an anxiety going to the feelings, to the memories, to the manner of reflections. So you might always remember the anxious things or nervous things. Oh, this is insecure. This was insecure. I better not get that again. And that worry, the Uranus is destabilizing the moon, and the moon is fighting to try and maintain some day-to-day habits for stability.